today I'm doing a video on my top 10 favorite most used brushes. A lot of you have been requesting a video like this, so I thought it would be a fun one to film. I was actually going to film this the other day, so I got ready and washed all of these brushes and everything, and then I ran out of time. It started raining and the lighting was really bad, so I couldn't film it. I do use pretty much all of these brushes every single day, so they are dirty. I apologize if my dirty brushes offend you or bother you in any way. I promise I washed them just a few days ago, but I just really do love all these brushes and use them all the time, so they get dirty really quickly. I do have a couple smaller eye brushes, but most of these are for the face. I just find face brushes are the most important in my makeup routine, at least. I like having a variety of them. Eye brushes, little flat shader brushes and stuff, are kind of a dime a dozen, so they're not as important to me. And I am going to start off with the face brushes, but other than that, I'm not really going in any particular order. So my first brush I want to talk about is my MAC 129. This is one of the brushes I've had in my collection for the longest time. I actually do own two of these. This is the newer one, but my first one I think I bought when I was 15 or 16. This is my holy grail blush brush. This is pretty much the only thing I ever use to apply blush. The one exception being if I'm using a liquid or cream or something that's really pigmented, I will go for a dual fiber stippling brush. But for the most part, this is all I use. The main reason I like this brush so much is because it's a little bit unique to all of the other blush brushes I have seen. Usually you have the kind of angled, more contouring blush kind of brush, or they're a lot thinner and more flat than this kind of style. I like that this is a little bit bigger and fluffier. When you first get it, it is a little bit more tapered, but as you use it, it fluffs out really nicely like this. And I like that because I do have really full chubby cheeks here. So this is the perfect size to get in there. I find everything else a little bit too small. You can see it's literally just the perfect size for me to sweep on blush. If you don't have round, full, chubby cheeks like I do, you might not like this. The one con is that MAC brushes do shed. Every time I wash them, they definitely lose a few hairs, but it's not a big deal. My first one is still totally usable and everything. It's just after 6 years of pretty much daily use, I did want to get a new one because that one was getting a little bit rough and scratchy. Next, I have a powder brush. This is the Luxie 520 Tapered Face. I am a Luxie affiliate, so I do have a code and a link for 20% off. I'll have that down below. They're a really great brand. They're cruelty-free, vegan, and really high-quality synthetic brushes. But this kind of more tapered style of powder brush has become my go-to over the past little while. As you can see, it's a little bit fluffier as opposed to something like this, which is a more dense, traditional powder brush. So it's really nice to just lightly dust on some setting powder, or I also use this if I'm using an ambient lighting powder all over my face, because it picks up product, but it's not overdoing it. It's just perfect for just, like I said, lightly dusting on a little bit of powder. It's also really nice to go in and blend out your bronzer and your blush and your contour and everything, because it does a really great job blending without completely diffusing and buffing out the product, if you know what I mean. It does the perfect amount of blending without making your products disappear. This one's kind of random, but it has honestly been a game changer for me. I got this in a Coastal Scents brush set, so I'll see if they have an individual brush this style, and I'll try and link it down below. If not, I'll link the entire set. This doesn't have a name. It's just a little angled face brush. But what I use this for is for setting my under eyes. Once again, this is the perfect size and shape to really just get in that area there. It gets right up in the inner corner of your eye and underneath your lashes to keep your concealer from creasing. Since discovering this brush, I've tried going back to other brushes that I've used to set my eye area and everything, and just none of them compare to this one anymore. This is also really nice too, because if you go overboard on your lower lash line or anything, it's a good shape to get in there and blend it out as well. My next brush is from Real Techniques, and it is the Multitasker brush. This is just a little round kind of powder brush, and I just use this for bronzer. It's pretty straightforward. It's not a super unique brush or anything, but for me it's the perfect size, once again, to just get in there and bronze up. And it actually blends out my powder bronzer really well, even though it is synthetic. Synthetic brushes typically tend to work better for liquids and creams, but I find it works really well for me. The next brush is probably the only one that I don't use every single day, just because it's for foundation, and a lot of the times I do reach for the Beauty Blender instead. But this is the Sigma Round Kabuki F82 brush. Everyone knows the Sigma F80, the flat top kabuki Kabuki. This one is very similar, but like the name implies, it's just very slightly rounded, and I love the flat top too, but the more I use them, the more I find I reach for this one instead. I just find the rounded edges really help to give a really flawless, smooth application. It's really fast to like buff in product or kind of like work your foundation in into downward strokes. And I just find the slightly rounded edges of this make it a little bit easier to get into those small areas like around your nose and stuff where you need a little bit more precision. The only downside with this brush and the entire Sigma Kabuki range in general is that it's such a pain to clean. It is so insanely dense to actually get all of the foundation and everything out. You really have to like get in there and like scrub it. Like I'll get a little bit of my brush soap on my hands and like kind of work it in, and I usually have to do that quite a few times to ensure I'm really getting it clean. And then also because it's so dense, it takes forever to dry. So if I am going to be using this, I need to like wash it a couple days in advance to make sure it's completely 100% dry. So that's obviously kind of a pain. It's just a high maintenance brush when it comes to cleaning. Brush number 6 is my Real Techniques contour brush. I have never really seen another brush in this style, and this is part of why I like it so much. It is a little domed, kind of tapered brush, and it just gives you such precise contouring without being like overly chiseled and like creating like really harsh lines, if that makes sense. I also have the NARS Ita, and I reached for this affordable drugstore brush over that brush, which was like $65. I'll have my highlight and contour routine linked down below, but it's just like super precise, like I said, perfect for carving out the hollows of your cheeks, under your lip, your temples, everything like that. I just love how small it is. I raved about this recently in a monthly favorites video, but this is the Luxie 522 tapered highlight. I love this brush so much. If you can't already tell, I'm really into like the shapes of my brushes. I like very unique shapes for them. Finding a brush that's like the perfect shape and size for me is just like everything. So once again, it's just like the perfect size to just go along the tops of my cheeks and like down the bridge of my nose and like in my cupid's bow and everything. This brush just kind of like does all the work for you. It like places the product, but it also kind of like blends it out at the same time, and it just picks up the perfect amount of highlight. Like it's never too much. It is just an all-around beautiful brush. If you want to transform your highlight application, I think this is something you need in your collection. So my final 3 favorites are smaller like eye brushes. The first one is the Sigma Tapered Blending E40 brush. This is by far my favorite eye brush. If I could only choose one out of my whole collection, it would be this. This is a fluffier blending brush, and a lot of people kind of think that this is going to be a little bit too big, but I promise you it is the perfect size and shape for adding your transition shade and then also going in and blending out any other shades you put in your crease afterwards. I use this every single day without fail. It is a staple in my collection and is just a must-have for like a perfect blended diffused crease. Brush number 9 is the Sigma Diffused Crease E38, which you can see is kind of like a mini version of the E40. It's just a little bit smaller and a little bit more precise. I can do like a full eye look using just these 2 brushes. When you want to start building up your crease and adding a little bit more depth, it's just a little bit smaller than that one, so it really helps for placement of like a darker shade in your crease. I do also have a crease brush that is even smaller than this. I think a variety of sizes for crease brushes is essential for creating a good eye look. That's something that I think everybody needs in their brush collection, is a variety of different crease brushes and sizes. I found the more I added little crease brushes like this to my collection, the better my eye makeup skills got. And finally, this one's kind of weird, but it is one of my favorites, so I needed to include it. This is the Urban Decay brush that comes with the electric palette. The reason I like this is because I use this tiny little end to apply the concealer around my brows when I'm like shaping out that kind of like lower line. It's getting pretty like frayed and worn out, but it's synthetic, so it's really great for cream concealers, and it's just the perfect little size to get in there and like sculpt those brows. I know you can't just like go out and buy this on its own, so I'll try and find some brushes that are really similar and I'll have them linked down below. But that was my top 10 favorite makeup brushes. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and check out the description bar because all of these will be linked down below. Don't forget to go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. I am at SariReanna on all 3, and hit subscribe down below if you haven't already. I would love to have you here on my channel. But that is going to be it for today. I will talk to all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys! I did some damage, I'm not gonna lie, but in my defense, I hadn't been to a Sephora in like 2 months, so I walked in there and I was just like, treat yourself, girl.